Hey guys, welcome back. It's good seeing you guys this morning. We are starting a new module in Wisdom. We are starting module 4 and we are doing lesson 1 today. And I am so excited about this module and I know you guys will be too. So I'm going to turn it over to our friend with Wit and Wisdom. All right. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen with you.
Hello, friends, and welcome to Module 4 of Wit and Wisdom in Sync. My name is Tanisha Spears, and I'm so excited to get started with this lesson. But before we do, let's make sure you have your materials ready. For this lesson, you will need your Wit and Wisdom in Sync journal and a pencil. Pause the video now if you need to gather your materials. In today's lesson, you will make observations and ask questions about a new text. But before we get into the new text, I'd like you to take a look at the world map on your screen. As you are looking at the world map, I want you to think about the continents or the countries where some of the stories that we've read have taken place. We've done lots of traveling through books, and we're going to continue traveling around the world through books in this module as well. Let's review a few of the places we've been. From the text to Meet Jane, we traveled to the continent of Africa. In The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind, we traveled to Malawi. In Waiting for the Biblio Burrow, we traveled to Colombia. And in the text My Librarian is a Camel, we traveled to lots of different countries. In this module, you are going to explore different versions or different ways of telling the same story. Each version comes from a different country, but many parts of the story are the same around the world. Now, that brings us to our framing question for today's lesson. And that question is, what do I notice and wonder about this text? So you are going to have an opportunity to make observations about the text, glass slipper, gold sandal. And this text features a story and character that many people throughout the world admire. And as I am reading, you are going to try to figure out who and what the text is about. Are you ready to get into the text? Glass slipper, gold sandal?
Yes.
Let's do it. All right, friends, remember to think about what you notice as I read the text aloud. Here we go. Glass slipper, gold sandal. Once upon a time, there lived a wealthy merchant whose wife had died. They had one daughter, gentle-eyed and good-hearted. Down the road lived a widow with 2 daughters. The woman gave the girl treats when she passed, pan dulce to eat, sugar cane to chew. The girl knew that her father was lonely. You should marry the widow, she told him. She's nice to me. The father had his doubts, but the girl kept asking. And how long can a father say no to his daughter? And so he and the widow were married. But no sooner had the stepmother moved in than she began to order the girl about. All day long, she set her to the rice fields and cooking and carrying. The woman gave the girl's room to her own lazy daughters. At night, the girl had nowhere else to sleep, but curled for warmth among the ashes on the hearth. Her stepmother allowed her only a few scraps of food. Her stomach howled. Then the girl recalled how she begged her father to marry. I picked up the scorpion with my own hand, she told herself. She vowed not to complain to her father and upset him. But when the girl was out tending the cattle, the beast heard her crying for hunger. Don't weep, said one of the cows, and the animal poured honey for her from its horn. And a fairy gave her figs and apricots. And Godfather Snake gave her rice. Once she was eating well and proper, the girl bloomed into a right rare beauty. The stepmother couldn't fathom it. And meanwhile, her own sour-faced daughters would curdle the milk if they looked at it twice. One day, it was announced far and wide that the great king was in search of a queen. All of the unmarried women dressed in their finest robes and set off for the palace. To make sure the girl couldn't go, the stepmother threw an apron full of lentils into the ashes and ordered her to pick them all out. And scour all the kitchen pots too, she hollered. As soon as the stepmother left with her daughters, the girl burst into tears. Outside, the sparrows heard her. In they flew and pecked the lentils from the ashes. Then a witch woman came in and spoke a spell, and up jumped the pots and scoured themselves. The girl was free to go, but she had nothing to wear except rags. Then she looked in her mother's sewing basket. Then she reached into the hole in the birch tree. Then a crocodile swam up to the surface, and in its mouth was a wand made of gold, a cloak sewn of kingfisher feathers, a kimono red as sunset, and on his feet appeared a pair of glass slippers, diamond anklets, sandals of gold. Walk to the ball, said Rose auntie. Never. She picked a big round breadfruit from a tree and tapped it 3 times with her wand. Quick, the blink of a firefly, that breadfruit changed itself into a coach. When she made her entrance, so great was her beauty, musicians stopped playing. No one, not even her stepmother, knew who the beautiful stranger was. All night, the girl danced with the headman's son until the first rooster crowed. Then she remembered she had to leave at once. She leaped onto her mare's golden saddle. "Who are you?" called the prince. The girl had no time for words and charged down the lane. The prince sprinted beside her, got a handle on the shoe, and the dainty thing pulled off in his fingers as she galloped away. The king declared he would marry the golden shoe's owner. He ordered the women of the court to ride on, but none could squeeze inside it. And so he went searching for its owner up and down mountains and across the deserts, until he came to the stepmother's house. When she saw him approach, she grabbed her stepdaughter, wrapped her in a mat, and hid her. "I'm certain the shoe will fit one of my fine favorite girls," said the woman. Grunting and sweating, her older daughter tried to wrestle the shoe on, but couldn't. Neither could the younger. Just then, the rooster began to crow. They put the ugly one on show and hid the beauty down below. The girl was brought forward. "Don't waste your time with that one," said the stepmother. But the magistrate looked into the girl's eyes, took the straw sandal in his hand, and slipped it onto her foot with ease. She and the great king were married at the palace, where the guests feasted on mangoes and melons, rice seasoned with almonds, beef stew and lamb stew, anise cookies and custards. Such a wedding it was, and such an adoring couple, and such a wondrous turn of events, that people today are still telling the story. Okay, friends, what did you notice of the text? Does anything remind you of texts that we've read so far this year? Or does this story sound similar to any other stories you've heard before? Think. Now, share with your learning partner or just share aloud.
What did you think? Did it sound like a story you knew? I bet I know what you said, but I'm going to keep mine in here for right now. Okay, so think about, what did you notice in this story? Did you notice that there were different characters in this story and settings? They were all a part of the same story, but they were told in different countries. So it began with once upon a time, and most fairy tales start with that, don't they? And the countries on the world map in the book are written in the illustrations also. Did you notice that? They were in like a rectangular shape with the country in it. And the illustrations had lots of colors, didn't it? The text is in different boxes, but they look different from the text boxes with the informational text. And the story begins with a parent telling a story to a child.
Oh, I wish I could have heard what you shared. Here are a few things that I noticed. I noticed that there are different characters and settings, but they seem to be a part of the same story. I also noticed that the story seems to be a lot of different stories. It reminds me of one story that I've read before, and I bet you can guess what that is. One more thing I noticed is the countries on the world map in the book are written in the illustrations. Did you notice that too?
We did.
So now, based on this story, what is the main story you think we'll be reading in this module? Think. Share with your learning partner, or just share aloud.
So what do you think the story is? I'm thinking Cinderella. What are you thinking?
I'm sure you said it. We are going to be reading Cinderella stories from around the world. Take a look at the front cover of the book that we just read. Glass slipper, gold sandal. And you'll see it also says a worldwide Cinderella. And again, that's because we are going to be reading Cinderella stories from around the world in this module. Now, friends, after we make observations about a text, what do we do next? I know you know, we ask questions, and that's what we are going to do. Take a moment and review the question words on the slide. Are you reviewing them? Great. Now, let me think of a question that I have. Oh, I remember. The text says that people are still telling this story today. And I'm wondering why that is. So the question I have is, why are people still telling this story today? I am going to be thinking about this question as we continue our work in this module. What questions do you have? I want you to think of some questions that you have using the question words on the slide and share them with your learning partner, or just share them aloud. One more time. Think of questions that you have using the question words on the slide and share those questions with your learning partner, or just share them aloud. Are you thinking? Share with your learning partner.
All right, friends, now's the time to think about those questions. My question is, what kinds of shoes does this girl wear? Because the story changes all throughout. So that means her shoes change throughout too, doesn't it? What's your question?
All right, friends, now that you've practiced saying some questions aloud, it's your turn to write down at least one question that you have about the text. Are you ready? Pause the video and write a question in your journal.
All right, my friends, write your question down in your journal, okay? Excuse me. And make sure it needs to start with one of our question words: who, what, why, where, when, or how. And when you write your question, then you can start the video back up.
Okay, did you write your question? If you didn't, I encourage you back and do so. I also challenge you to write more than one question in your journal. Now, we just read glass slipper, gold sandal, and that text was made up of different versions of the Cinderella story. When I say versions, what I mean are things that are a little bit different from each other, but have some similarities. I'll say it one more time. When I say versions, I mean things that are a little bit different from each other, but have some similarities. And during this module, you are going to read several versions of the Cinderella story from different parts of the world. And as you're reading these versions, I want you to think about this essential question. Why do people around the world admire Cinderella? I'll say the question one more time. Why do people around the world admire Cinderella? Now remember, this essential question is the big question that you're going to work to answer throughout this module. Take a look at the essential question again. And I want you to look at the word admire. Repeat after me, my turn. Admire, your turn.
Admire.
The word admire means to really like or have a lot of respect for someone. So as you read these Cinderella stories, you're going to be thinking about the kind of characters people around the world admire and the kind of characters people may not admire. We're going to be working with 6 versions of the Cinderella story in this module, and you'll see them on your screen. I'm going to read the titles for you. Cinderella, Cendrillon, The Rough-Faced Girl, Adelita, Bigfoot Cinderella, Glass Slipper, Gold Sandal, a worldwide Cinderella. What I'd like you to do now is I'd like you to point to the one that you are most excited about reading. Remember to point gently. Did you point?
I did.
Excellent. All right, awesome first graders. Nice job making observations and asking questions about the text. Glass Slipper, Gold Sandal, a worldwide Cinderella. What a fantastic way to start Module 4. I look forward to all of our work together as we explore the different versions of Cinderella. Until the next time, be kind and do something great because you are capable of greatness.
Okay, friends, let me stop sharing for a moment. Okay. All right. So let's talk about our deep dive. Let's think about admire. Let's think about that word admire. And what does admire mean? It means that we respect someone, right? Okay. So let's think about this. In our story, what are some, well, not just in our story, in life in general, what are qualities that we admire about people? Or what about your friends? What do you admire about your friends? Think about that. You probably like that they are honest and they're kind and they're caring, right? Okay. Do you like friends or people around you that are mean or dishonest? No. We kind of tend to stay with people that are nice to us and kind to us. And in this story, we get that, don't we? Because the stepmom, did she treat Cinderella with kindness and respect? No, she did not. She did not. She was very mean to her, wasn't she? Yes. Okay. So think about someone that you admire. Who do you admire? Maybe mom or dad, your teacher, friend, your principal? Why do you admire them? So in your journal, your job is to tell me who you admire and why. All right, and I'll give you a sentence starter to help you out. So in your journal, write, I admire blank because blank. All right. So I admire blank because blank. All right. Friends, thank you for working so hard today, and I can't wait to see your writing. Bye, guys.